What's up, everybody? Welcome to Speak Now Pro Wrestling. I got a bonus podcast for you this week. It is Thursday, October 3rd. I was about to say Tuesday. Thursday, October 3rd. It is myself, Denise Salcedo, and I am joined by Inside the Ropes founder, Kenny McIntosh. Kenny, welcome to the channel. I'm so happy to have you on. We've gotten to meet now a couple of times, and I gotta say, just right off the bat, I really liked you when we met, and I'm like, I need to bring him on. I need to bring him on to the show. How are you, Kenny?
I'm good. Thank you so much. That I really appreciate that. I try and stay out of people's way, and I think sometimes that maybe comes across like I'm aloof, but I don't mean it to be. So I feel like it's always good. Like I obviously knew who you were and stuff, and I was like, we finally got to connect and talk. It was like, oh, good, we can chat and like see that we can get on and stuff. So yeah, I think you're great. I love what you do. And yeah, that's why as soon as you put the call out, I'm here whenever you need me.
No, and I was going to say, I feel like, first of all, you've been doing this a lot longer than I have with Inside the Ropes. I'm sure a lot of wrestling fans here have already seen your channel at some point or another. If you guys haven't, there's tons, and I mean tons of wrestling content over there. I did link that in the description box for you guys to check out Kenny's work, but Kenny runs all of that. And as a person who's like recently, like in the last couple of years, started to run my own brand, I'm like, I have nothing but respect for people who run their own freaking brand because I know firsthand the stress that comes with it. And Kenny, and you've been doing it for longer than I have.
I thought for a second that was going to be an age joke, but you did veer away from it, so I'm happy because I was telling you off camera. I turn 40 next year, which is like it's a whole anyway. That's a whole. I'm not going to get into my therapy session about that, but yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. There is obviously loads of people who have helped me and continue to help me day to day to do the stuff and edit the stuff on the channel and whatever. But the one thing that I've learned over the years, and I think it's so important for anybody who's like watching this, if you have a brand or something, well, there's two things. Number one, you have to want to do it because you love doing it. That has to be the number one reason, because sometimes the money's not going to be good. At the beginning, there might not be any money. So like you have to want to love doing it. And then the second thing is like when I'd been doing Inside the Ropes since 2012. That was when I started podcasting. And then when COVID hit, I was like, crap, what am I going to do? Because I can't do live events anymore. So I can't get content as easily. But then through like having done Inside the Ropes, I was able to start the Inside the Ropes website with people and then start the magazine. And it was all because the brand had been there for so long. So like I feel like sometimes when you think that the brand, like, oh, is it worth all this hard work? The longer you do it, stuff can happen. And that is my TED talk for today. That's
No, but it's true, Kenny, because there's a lot of channels that come and they get, they get started and then they die out because it's so much freaking work. So when you can keep a channel alive for a crazy amount of time, all of a sudden it's like people start to recognize your brand and people start like, oh yeah, I know this channel. And you just build a relationship within the wrestling community. So that's just like the way that it works. So I know
you're a prime example. Look at all the stuff that you've offshot to do, all the different stuff, because you built a brand and it's going to keep helping longer and longer. So yeah, I'm also someone who if somebody does their own thing, I'm so I respect it so much because it would be so much easier to just do something for somebody else because then you can kind of clock off. But you know what it's like. You can't clock off. Like there is no, it's like when if you're out for dinner with your other half and like and like I don't know, Vince retires. Well, I was on holiday in 2022 and Vince retired, and like you have to be on your phone and like start planning what you're going to do, and that's just kind of part of the gig.
It is. It really is. It's just like round the clock work. But no, seriously, Inside the Ropes has been awesome. So I'm happy to have you here on the channel. And today we're going to be doing Bad Blood predictions, guys. So of course, the card is not too long. It's 5 matches. That's what we've been sort of getting used to now, which is great. I love the 5-match cards. I'm not even going to lie to you, Kenny. Like when I was out there, when I saw you over at Clash at the Castle, and what was the other one that I was out there for when I saw you at? It was Clash at the Castle and,
Mania?
yeah. Were you there in Berlin, right?
No, I think I saw you at Mania and Clash at the Castle.
Okay, so yeah, Clash at the Castle. But even like all of the recent pay-per-views that I've gone to, it's so funny because I'll sit down and in my mind, I feel like I'm gonna be there for a while. And I sit down to watch the show and I'm like, yay, show, tweet, 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 next match, tweet, 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 next match, tweet, tweet, tweet. All of a sudden, oh shit, the show's over. It like literally flies by. How are you liking like these short pay-per-views that we've been having, or rather these more trimmed down pay-per-views that we've been having?
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I really like the concept of it. I really like there being shorter pay-per-views. I think it's something that, and this is not a, I mean, it kind of is a dig by default of what I'm going to say, but I don't mean it as a dig. But like with AEW pay-per-views, I'm like, I don't know if I can commit to the buy-in and then a 10 match pay-per-view. I find that like quite exhausting. So a 5-match show almost feels like you could do more because you're not exhausted at the end of it. So I'm a big fan of that. And yeah, I hope that AEW actually at some point start to, if they do more pay-per-views, start to do some shorter cards. Maybe not 5 matches, but maybe 7 or something. Like I think less is more is the way forward.
It's so interesting. Like for me, like I guess I know what to expect when I tune into WWE programming, and I know what to expect with the AEW programming. And I feel like both companies have sort of conditioned their fans to expect a certain amount. Plus, also like their pay-per-view models are so different. With WWE, you get everything thrown in on the Peacock, right? With AEW, and obviously things are going to change next year, but for the most part, like people are shelling out $50 every single time. So of course, you don't want to shell out $50 for a 5-match card. Like that's not going to be like the thing, right? You don't want that. Like you want to get your money's worth if you're paying for it. So I know things are going to be different once they move over to Max. They're going to be giving people a discount. We don't know yet what that discount's going to be, but regardless, you're still paying a premium price on top of, your HBO Max subscription. So I do think like their cards, I don't imagine their cards getting shorter. Maybe trim down a match or two, great. But I don't expect it to see it like drastically get shorter here in comparison to the WWE stuff. But we'll see. Who knows? But I'm liking that I watch 5 matches, and then that's it. We go to the press conference, and then that's it. We move on with the day.
I very quickly. I'm really sorry, but like so in the UK we've got to stay up till 4 a.m. for these shows, right?
That's right.
Like, you guys get to like finish the show. You could go out to a club afterwards if you wanted to. You could go and see a movie, all this stuff. And I've got to say, there was a small part of me that had some satisfaction when we met at Clash at the Castle, and you were like, time zoned. You couldn't figure out where you were time zone wise, and I was like, that's how we feel. That's how we feel, having to stay up till 4 a.m. watching these shows. Or that's the AEW thing. It's actually probably nothing to do with the fact there's loads of matches. It's to do with the fact that by the end of the pay-per-view, it's 5 a.m. where we are. So then, yeah, for one time, you got to see what it's like for us UK people and what we have to go through.
It's not great. No, it's not great.
Bad Blood's on earlier this time. So Bad Blood this weekend's on 11 p.m. UK time rather than 1 a.m. So that's even better. I could maybe last out of the club if I still went clubbing, but.
Well, look, Kenny, I could honestly finish the day at 7 and you still won't find me at the club. You'll never find me at the club. I've been to the club like 3 times in my whole entire life, and I hated it each and every single time. But no, it's funny to me that you mentioned Clash at the Castle, because I was so lost, man. I was just like, dude, like, I don't even know what time it is. Just tell me where I'm supposed to be right now. But we got a couple of super chats here. First and foremost, I want to thank Sheldon Jackson for gifting 5 DWO memberships here. We also got Oliver Drake, who's been a member of the DWO now for 20 months. It says, 2 favorite podcasters collaborating. Thank you so much to Oliver for tuning in to the pod, and hope you have a good time. So let's get to it. All right. So again, we don't have very many matches, but I'm going to work our way up to the top here of the card. So I want to kick things off, and we'll get started here. We'll get started with Bayley and Nia Jax. So this is one where I feel like there's 2 real big things to kind of predict here. And it's the 2 big things are we going to see Nia Jax walk out as champion, or are we going to see Tiffany Stratton go in and actually cash in her Money in the Bank briefcase? And if she does, is it going to be done successfully? So, Kenny, let's start there. How have you felt about the build to this matchup here? And are you expecting a Tiffany Stratton cash in?
I feel like we're now at the point of the year where every month it's a guessing game, and you've got to just hope that your like dart of a guess works. I've really enjoyed the build. Nia Jax has been, it's been so great to see her in this run when she's come back and I think nailed it way more than she ever did before. So I think giving her the belt was a great choice. Her and Tiffany are a great duo together. I think the only thing I'm certain of is I don't see Bayley walking out of Atlanta with the title. I see Nia retaining, but then with Tiffany, I feel like it's too early. I feel we might get a tease of something. Like I could see Tiffany being in there at the end and maybe like motioning the briefcase to the referee, and like Nia turns around and sees her, and she like stops. And, oh no, I'm yeah, you won. I could see a tease, but I think I'm gonna go for straightforward. Nia Jax retains on this one. But I do like the way they've got to it, and I think that Naomi on SmackDown last week had her best match since she's been back. So I think, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. What about you?
First of all, I kind of wanted to see Naomi in this matchup against Nia Jax. Like I was talking about this on my SmackDown post show, and I truly feel like Naomi. I love Bayley. Everyone knows I love Bayley. Bayley's great, but we've seen Nia Jax versus Bayley, and I wanted to see Naomi kind of get a shot here at the title, especially because to me, like there's only two options. Like either Nia Jax is walking out champion or Tiffany Stratton is cashing in. I don't expect Bayley to win the championship once again, like you. And then also, if Naomi was in that exact same spot, I also wouldn't be expecting her to win the title. So for me, it kind of made no difference whether it was Bayley or Naomi on that front. And so the only front that I was really kind of like concerning myself with was, okay, well, which match would probably feel a lot more different? And that would be the Naomi match. So I was actually a little bummed out that we weren't going to get Naomi in this matchup, but I was all right, fine. I know we're going to get a good wrestling match with Nia Jax and Bayley as well. We know that. But I do think that because part of me is like, okay, we got Nia Jax out there as champion, right? It's been fine. It hasn't been red hot, but it definitely has been fine. I have actually felt that they have booked Nia Jax as a better champion than Bayley's last run as champion when she won it off of WrestleMania, because it was almost like they forgot that she was champion. I'm not even really too sure what happened there. So I do feel like the booking of Nia Jax has been a lot better as champion, but part of me is kind of like, you know what? I do want to see Tiffany Stratton get her moments. I do want to see her as champion. And I know what you said. It's a little too early, and you can argue that it is too early. So I'm on the fence, but I'm going to go opposite of you, and I'm going to go cash in for Tiffany Stratton, a successful cash in for Tiffany Stratton. And I know I'm risking it here, but I think it can happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think the money to me is with Tiffany and Nia on SmackDown, because it's a really great point about Bayley's title reign, where Bayley's title reign kind of wasn't anything really. Like there was no big matches. There was nothing that really like to sink your teeth into. So Nia and Tiffany is kind of now the story, even though they're still together. But yeah, I mean, if you're right, I applaud you for going out on a limb. But yeah, I'm going to stick with it. I think it's a little bit too early. But yeah, and also I think with the Naomi thing, they should definitely do a Naomi and Nia Jax pay-per-view match, because Naomi proved with Bayley she can do it, and she's not really had a chance to get in there and really do as much as we know she can do from what we saw in TNA. So yeah, I would be up for a Naomi and Nia singles match.
She's consistently been proving herself, and that's the thing that I thoroughly want to like applaud Naomi for, is that she has been proving herself to be a challenger, a performer that you want to see. Now, let's go ahead and get into the next match here. The next match on the card that we're going to get into is Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. Now, I was looking at this match, Kenny, and I was thinking, damn, you know what? I kind of feel like it could go any direction here, because obviously we've been seeing the Judgment Day feud with the Terror Twins a whole lot, and we'll talk about the other match that we're going to see in just a moment. But on this front, going into it, Kenny, here's where I'm at. I liked the tail end of Damian Priest's run as World Heavyweight Champion, because I liked what he did with Gunther. I thought the story that he did with Gunther was phenomenal. Him as a babyface is definitely hitting a lot harder than the stuff that he was doing with the Judgment Day. So that's where I'm at with Damian Priest right now. with Finn Balor, I'm kind of over the association with him and the Judgment Day. Like, I was talking about this recently, but I want to see the cool version of Finn Balor once again. I feel like we've been seeing Finn as kind of a little dorky with the Judgment Day. That's the way that I see him. Like, I'm not buying him as a legitimate threat, which is crazy to say because Finn Balor's like insanely talented, right? He's like such a great wrestler. But for me, I'm like, I'm just not buying everything that he's saying, like on the microphone and all of that. Like, I can't buy it and I can't take him seriously right now. And I feel like a lot of it has to do with the partnership with him and the Judgment Day. And so I look at Damian Priest and I'm like, all right, like I'm taking this guy seriously. I'm looking at Finn Balor and I'm not there. So then this is causing sort of a conflict within me because I'm thinking, okay, a win for Finn Balor would obviously add a lot more legitimacy to him, especially in this current iteration of Finn Balor that we're seeing. But then at the same time, it's like, ooh, do I really want to see Damian Priest lose to this iteration of Finn Balor? So that's kind of where I'm at, Kenny. Or are you seeing this a specific direction?
Yeah, no, I think it's all valid points. I think that Finn is... It's interesting with Finn because, like you say, he has been cooler before. There's always been a thing with Finn Balor where they've never quite pulled the trigger on him. They've always got him close, and then they've not done it. And I think that I think the easiest thing to do here, and I think it's what they're going to do, is I think Priest beats Balor here pretty decisively in the end, and I think that has to facilitate a change in personality for Finn Balor. He has to change from this because and also in the lead up, Priest has been kind of on the receiving end of the beatdowns a fair amount of times, which leads me to believe Priest is going to get his revenge at Bad Blood. And yeah, I think I'd like to see Balor do something else. I'm not saying that him going back to put the face paint on again is necessarily where he's going to go, but yeah, I think they need to do a character change for him, and I think that him losing decisively to Priest is a perfect way to kind of start that.
See, Kenny, this is why I like you. I was on the fence here and I was like, which direction should we go in here? Like, I'm so torn, but I like your idea of that sort of being like Finn's way out of like breaking out and going back into something different, right? Because he's been angrier, right? He has been angry, and Damian Priest called him out for basically essentially being jealous of him and Rhea because him and Rhea found success. And even though Finn Balor held the tag team titles, let's be real, like it wasn't necessarily all that in a bag of chips. So I'm going, dude, I don't know which direction to go here because of what I said earlier. Like, I feel Finn Balor really needs this victory, but at the same time, I don't buy him defeating Damian Priest right now. So I'm going to have to, oh God. But see, I'm thinking because there's a match later on in the night that we're going to talk about that I for sure know who I want to win that match. And I'm wondering if it's going to be a win across the board for this side or not. So for the sake of all things, I'm going to have to go with Finn Balor defeating Damian Priest here just because I don't know if we're going to get a full-on winning side for the Terror Twins. So that leads me into this next match here, and that is the Shark Cage match where, well, not a shark, well, yeah, technically a Shark Cage match because Dominik's in it, but Liv versus Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship. And okay, this one, I kind of already spoiled what I was expecting here, but I'm definitely expecting to see Rhea Ripley get her win over Liv Morgan. I'm expecting her to get her title back here. And also, I'm expecting her to like get her hands on Dominik. Maybe Dominik falls off the shark cage. I don't know. Some crazy thing happens with that. But I am expecting Rhea to win here. So that's why part of me was thinking like, okay, is it going to be a win for both members of the Terror Twins or just one member of the Terror Twins? And if I was going to go with anybody, it's going to be Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, everything you said, I think is right. I think I'm just going to be total out of left field, and I think somehow Liv Morgan's going to retain the title here because I feel like with Liv and Rhea, it's so hot right now. I think there's more in it. There's more pay-per-views or PLEs, and I could see them doing something where like Dominik, drops something to Liv, and that's how she is able to kind of get the win here. I think it almost kind of balances out if Priest beats Balor, Liv can beat Rhea. Because I feel like if Rhea wins, is there anything left for Rhea and Liv to do? I just want to see that keep going. I've loved this storyline so much. Liv Morgan, I mean, she's like most improved of of the year doesn't seem big enough. Like, she's so good right now. She's nailing it. Her and Dom are just the greatest duo. So I really want to see them I want to see Liv keep the belt. So even though I think I'm wrong, I think you're totally right. But I'm going to.
I don't know, because you're right. A lot of people do really like the storyline, and so do I. I found it very entertaining. However, I see it more as I think we've kind of gotten all that we could sort of get out of it. I think anything more, maybe they can stretch this out for one more match, because they had their SummerSlam match, then they had this match, so they could probably still do another one after that. So they could stretch it out to a trilogy. Like, that can happen.
Yeah, they could. I mean, I think that if the most likely thing, if I was betting, if somebody said, right, your house is on the line, I'm going to probably go with you and say, yeah, Rhea's going to win. But sometimes I like with predictions to just say what I want. So it's out in the ether, and somehow the spirits will like make it happen. So, yeah. But regardless of who wins, Dominik Mysterio in a shark cage, like, I can't wait for the little camera inside the cage. And like that bit where on Raw where he found out he was going to be, behind bars, and he was like, I can't go back there. It's so good. Like,
Prison Dom.
How is he so good? I don't understand how he's so good at this job when he's, because like the other week, I think it was when him and Liv arrived in the lowrider, and like they came in through the back, and I don't know if you noticed that one of the trucks had the old Dom and Ray on it, and you're like, that kid on that truck of him as a babyface with no facial hair and short hair feels like a completely different guy.
Yeah, I was noticing that actually recently, because I had interviewed Dominik, like, oh my God, when was it? Like before WrestleMania 39. And I remember like going back and watching that video, and he was just like so timid and shy. And he was it was like talking to a high school kid. It was literally like if I just went to like a high school and pulled out some random kid and started interviewing him. Like, that was the vibe that Dominik had. And then this last time I Clash at the Castle, when I talked to him and Liv, I mean, he's still like, he's not like very like boisterous or anything like that, but he had way more of a presence and way more confidence than he did the first time that I had ever spoken to him. So I noticed that right away. I'm like, oh my God, like there is such a huge difference in Dominik. And you also see it, of course, on TV too. Like, you see the difference, you see the growth. But no, it is true. He feels like a different person.
Do you think, because this is something that's obviously been rumored for so long, do you think we are going to get a Rhea Ripley Dominik match? Do you think they can find a way to do it, or do you think that?
I think they can. I think they can, and I feel like if they do something like that, I know that they're sort of, they're a little different when it comes to the intergender stuff, but I feel like Rhea and Dominik would be the perfect people to do that with if they wanted to, because Rhea is so like dominating. Like, you don't see her as like, you don't see weakness in her. You do not see weakness in Rhea. So she can pull that part off. And then with Dominik, you see him as like a comedic character, right? Like a guy that could get, bullied around by someone like Rhea Ripley. And so I feel like those two character dynamics would work if they did decide to do this intergender match between Rhea and Dominik at some point.
Yeah, I really want to see it. I know we almost got do you remember, this is randomly come into my brain, do you remember in 2019 where they announced for a house show that Dean Ambrose was going to face Nia Jax?
Oh, I don't remember that.
Because they had and then they pulled it within a week. They were like, oh no, we're not doing that. And it provoked this big discussion about, could you do intergender wrestling? And I feel like, I get the criticisms of doing it, but I think with Rhea and Dom, it's so easy to do. It's so easy to book. And everybody wants to see her give him the riptide. So give us it. We want it.
I think that people would like it. I think that people would like it specifically because, like you said, they are the perfect people to do this with, Rhea and Dominik. Like, you can get away with telling a funny story, because if done right, an intergender match can be hilarious. Like, it can be fun. It could be enjoyable, right? I know that people's reactions to certain intergender matches are totally different, because I remember one time, like me, I watch intergender matches and I see them as cool because to me, it's like, okay, there's a woman that's fighting equally as a man, blah, 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 right? I showed my mom an intergender match. I showed her a GCW intergender match. It was Thunder Rosa versus Tony Deppen. And I will never forget. My mom's not a wrestling fan, okay? She doesn't watch wrestling, but I will never. Dude, she was on the couch, literally leaning back, going, oh my God, Like the whole time, she was just screaming, "Oh my god!" And she had her hands in her face. She's like, "No, Denise, no, 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 no!" Like she was not having it. And I was like, "Mom, like look at her go. Like this is cool." And she was like, "Oh my god, Denise, I can't believe it!" Like that was literally her reaction. So I feel like if I've already seen intergender wrestling and you're accustomed to intergender wrestling, and you watch when it's booked right, then it can work for you. If it's something where it's not, there have been some bad intergender wrestling matches and I've seen them and I'm like, oh, this wasn't it. It's all about how you do it and the story that you tell while you're doing it.
Yeah, for sure. I also think that if the WWE issue is they don't want to have man on woman violence, because we know that's part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think with Dom and Rhea, another reason they're perfect is because Dom's offense on her is going to be so lame. Like he's gonna like not be able to get anything in on her really. So like it's not like you're gonna have like him choking her or anything with a pipe. So I think that they can do it in a way where it would be really fun. So
I feel ya. All right. So you're with Liv. I'm with Rhea. All right, cool. So let's keep it going. We got 2 more matches to get into. Here is the next one. And the next one, it's a big one, man. We've got Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Now, when they added this match to the card, Kenny, I was thinking, holy shit, what? Like, I felt like the card was already big enough with just CM Punk and Drew McIntyre in the Hell in a Cell. But when they added this match, I thought, oh, they really mean business here. I was not expecting to see Cody and Roman teaming up against each other. And truth be told, like, I'm still sort of torn on what can go down here in this matchup. But I don't know. Like, I'm kind of hoping that you sort of persuade me here because I know that there's a huge possibility that it is going to be Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu winning this, especially if we all know we're headed to War Games. I think that this is the War Games match that you're expecting to see. It's like Roman Reigns and whoever versus, the new version of the Bloodline.
Yeah, what's interesting, if we had I'm glad we're recording this today and not yesterday because last night, Cody Rhodes was on the Pat McAfee show. And at the end of it, Pat McAfee said something like, oh, is the big guy going to be there? And he said, and he just kind of laughed. And then also when he was on the podcast, Cody said a video package is going to play at Bad Blood that's going to have title implications. So that's a title implications video and the big guy's coming. And like, maybe this isn't going to happen. Again, maybe I'm just like trying to put into the ether what I want to happen. But like, what if Cody and Roman have it won and they're going to beat Solo and Jacob Fatu and The Rock appears and he helps Solo and Jacob Fatu win and he's the leader of the War Games match? Because he's on the board, right? He's more invested. He's not just like a part-timer guy. I could see that happening. I don't know how that ties into title implications. I mean, maybe Cody and Roman's going to be a match. Maybe that's announced for Crown Jewel or something. I could see that being a thing where like the match is announced before they team. So there's a whole thing of like, you guys are facing off with the title, but you're going to be teaming together. I've thrown a lot of fantasy booking stuff there, but I mean, I think that would be great. I mean, because if there is a War Games, there needs to be 4 people on each side. And on Solo's side, there's Solo, Jacob, Tama, and Tanga. Tanga Loa, he is not a guy in War Games who's going to do any damage. So I feel like The Rock could be like I love him because he's so bad, but like, he's not, nobody's buying a pay-per-view to see Tanga Loa, take out on people. So I could see The Rock being in that match, and I could see that being the build to something. So I'm actually going to go with, I think Solo and Jacob win with help from The Rock. I'm going out on a limb. That's what I think.
Well, let me tell you something. If you want to go out on a limb and also get the big one and also make it rock hard, make sure you guys get BlueChew promo code Denise. Are you jobbing out in bed? Do you have dreams of main eventing in the sack? Well, have no fear. BlueChew is here to help you become the champ. Soon you'll make your babyface comeback and get the finish. BlueChew is the place to go for chewable versions of sildenafil, tadalafil, vardenafil. These ingredients help men achieve stronger, harder, and longer lasting erections for sexual activity. Woo! The chewable tablets help fight off all forms of ED, which can include performance anxiety and maintaining an erection long enough for sex. A BlueChew subscription includes a free online consultation, 24/7 medical support, a prescription for chewable sildenafil, tadalafil, vardenafil, if approved, and discreet delivery straight to your door every month, all from the comfort of your own home at affordable prices. No more in-person doctor visits, no more waiting for appointments, and best of all, no more awkwardness. So, what are you waiting for? Head on over to the description box of this video and click on the link and make sure to use the promo code Denise. Hey, Kenny. Welcome to the show.
I feel like we need to take a little bit of a break and discuss what just happened. What the? Can I swear? Am I not allowed to swear?
Yes, you're allowed to swear.
What ever-loving fuck was that? Like that that's the most American thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, like, I'm just trying to process you with the dumbbells. I'm trying to process the information. I'm trying to. Rarely am I speechless, but do you know what? Respect. If people need help in that department, I mean, yeah. Do the code Denise. Get a hard on through BlueChew. Whatever works for you.
I love watching everyone's first time watching that ad because I never know how people are going to react to it. It's like, it's the thing. It's the thing. Welcome to the show.
She better not go straight back into the match because we have to unpack a lot of what this. Do you know, to be fair, BlueChew have found their market with wrestling because. No, that I don't mean that people who watch wrestling need Blue, but
there's just a lot of men, obviously, so that's gonna help a whole lot.
And I mean, it's not a problem I have, but people who have that problem who need a bit of help, should do it. I'll be thinking about that video for a long time. It's the commitment to you in that video, the baseball cap. There's so much stuff. It was so good. Well done.
Thank you very much, Kenny. Thank you very much. All right. So with that being said, you were talking about the big one. Not that big one, the other big one. We're talking about The Rock possibly being at Bad Blood. I don't know if that was just them trying to tease.
Very quickly, that was your segue. Just to clarify, The Rock, your segue for the big one was to do a whole BlueChew ad, and BlueChew ad, I can't even say it, and then come to Denise, you're a pro. You're a pro's pro.
When I heard you say it, I was like, there it is. Bam. Got to get that BlueChew ad in here. But here's the thing. So The Rock, I don't know if it was just a tease on the Pat McAfee show, trying to get people to tune in. I have no idea. But I could, if you, you're putting it out into the ether, like you said. If he were to come out, hey, no complaints from me, dude. I want to see The Rock anytime I can. That's going to be great. Because that would sort of explain how you can possibly buy Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu defeating Cody and Roman, if that's what's going to happen here. Of course, you have the whole, can Cody Rhodes trust Roman Reigns, right? Like, that's been a huge part of this story. Randy Orton has, put this in his head. Kevin Owens has put this in his head. Like, why are you trusting Roman Reigns? However, I personally feel that right now, I would trust Roman Reigns. I know, am I crazy? I would trust Roman Reigns because I do take his word for what he said, because right now, even though Cody Rhodes was his enemy back in the day, he's got new enemies. And of course, we all know the saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so right now, I do see Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes sort of forming this unlikely alliance and it actually working.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a stroke of genius what they're doing, because in that Georgia Tech video, I wouldn't need any BlueChew to get an erection over that video. It was great. See what I did there? But that video was so great, and I think that with Solo and Jacob Fatu, they've been very clever to not have Jacob Fatu look weak in any way. He's kind of always been out of a situation where somebody needs to be beat down. Solo is kind of now at the point where he's not really believable, like you say, as somebody who's going to beat Cody and Roman. But that's not the case. But by having that element, which could bring The Rock back, and then having Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, who've had problems with Roman in the past, them as friends of Cody Rhodes being like, you can't team with this guy. That sets up Kevin Owens or Randy Orton turning on Cody at some point for a feud in the next few months. I think they've set up so much stuff. Because like, remember when Vince was in charge and like we got nothing. We got like no hints of stories. We just got like last minute stuff, and we would have to like cling to anything to try and find a storyline reason for something happening. And now it's like all these little nuggets get dropped, and it's like, do we catch them? And I think they've done really well. And the fact that I remember when October pay-per-views used to be like the worst. Nothing happened, or like you'd be like, oh yeah, let's just wait for the Rumble because nothing important's gonna happen. And like Bad Blood feels like a kind of big five pay-per-view with all the matches on it. It feels like one of the biggest pay-per-views, and I think that the tag match is probably the most interesting match for me about what they do, because every other match there's two results: one person wins or the other person wins. But with this one, there's so much they can do with whatever result they go with. So I'm very into it.
So who's your official pick here for the victory?
Solo and Jacob Fatu with help from The Rock is my pick.
So I don't know how, but I'm also going with Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. And I will say this: I know we've been sort of always. I feel like I'm constantly talking about how Solo Sikoa just hasn't, he hasn't been like as over as he would have expected. But I will give him credit because the last two matches that we've seen, which was the steel cage match with Cody Rhodes, was really good, and then the tag team match that we saw this past week on SmackDown with KO and Randy, I thought were really good. So I want to give some credit to Solo because he was part of those matches, obviously. And I do think that the last two matches were really good. So it sort of helped him, I think. Like all of a sudden, I know before I was like, oh, a Solo Sikoa match? Like we're not really looking forward to that. But after the last two matches that he's been part of, I'm a little bit more interested in him now as a wrestler than I was, before. So I will give him credit for that. All right. So yeah, I'm also Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Now,
can I just say one thing? With Solo, I do feel it with Solo, he's good. But one of the problems is he was kind of in a no-win position because post-WrestleMania, you're going from Roman and that bloodline to now this new bloodline where Solo has to take over. And it's like, Roman's not around. There was nothing he could have done. I don't think Solo could have done everything in his power, and I don't think he could have done much more than what he did do, because he's a newer guy, and it was always going to be a case of we kind of had to wait until Roman came back. But that was going to be the big thing. Obviously, the introduction of Jacob Fatu was great, but then the introduction of Jacob Fatu is probably what's hurt Solo more, right? Because as soon as he came in, people are already like looking past Solo and thinking, oh, Roman and Jacob at WrestleMania, that'd be great. It's like Solo is kind of an afterthought now. So I feel like those two things make me feel bad for Solo, because I don't know if there's really anything he could have done to overcome either of those things. Does that make sense?
No, it does, because I feel like he was also thrusted into this role like so fast. Like he had only spent a brief amount of time on NXT. Like when you think back to NXT Solo Sikoa, like there's not that much to really touch on. And he quickly, went from there to the main roster, and then he's on the main roster and he has a role where he doesn't have to speak. And then all of a sudden, you're then again fast forwarded right into this main event spot where all of a sudden it's like you got to replace Roman Reigns. Those are some very hard tasks to do, and they have sort of made him skip a lot of steps in order to get there. So he has been thrown into these really big moments really, really fast. So I do feel like that's part of the reason why Solo Sikoa didn't just get it right away, because he only had so much time to like prepare for all of this. So yeah, I get it. But all right, speaking of having, Solo Sikoa didn't have a lot of time. These two people have had a shit ton of time, because this is a feud that has been going on now for 10 months, and that is CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre in a Hell in a Cell match. We're finally here after 10 months of beefing. We have seen so much between these two guys. CM Punk costing him his opportunity at WrestleMania. We've seen the strap match. We've seen the beatdown in Chicago, the shoving of the beads in the mouth. I mean, there has been so much that has gone down with this story. It really has been entertaining though, Kenny. I know that it's been 10 months and they have found every single possible way to stretch this story, but I've loved so many of the promos. My favorite thing was really the attack that Drew McIntyre did on CM Punk in Chicago. That was probably my favorite moment of the entire feud. But again, all of the promos were really good. When this feud was going on simultaneously with Cody and The Rock, I remember kind of there was times where I was like, damn, I'm more interested in CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Obviously, now it's a little harder to say that because it's been so long. But during that time period, I was very, very invested in it. And they've been able to keep it going this long because of it. Now, I haven't necessarily I didn't love that at SummerSlam they had Seth Rollins as the special guest referee. I didn't love the strap match having to be a 4 corners type of thing. So I feel like this Hell in a Cell, like they got to get it right. Like this is the match where I'm expecting it to really feel like it's going to complement the feud. This is the match that I think is going to do that in the Hell in a Cell. So I'm ready for it. I'm excited. I don't know who's going to win. Right now, they're 1-1. I would imagine that it's CM Punk that is going to be getting his win here. But who knows? Maybe they can swerve us and all of a sudden Drew McIntyre wins. I'm going to go with CM Punk, but there's a good chance it can also be Drew McIntyre. And they've done a good job of making you think that that's a possibility. What about you, Ken?
Yeah, they've done a really good job making you think either guy could win. I also think that CM Punk's going to win the match, but I think that the winner of this program is Drew McIntyre, 100%. Because I mean, it's like mad to think about. In January, the idea was CM Punk and Seth Rollins, right? That was the WrestleMania match. Then Punk gets injured, so then it's like he's not involved anymore, and that was like Drew's chance to step up. And I think it's got to a point where some weeks Drew has outshone Punk on the mic. And I don't think that's because Punk's not been good. I think it's because Drew has like grabbed this opportunity by the balls and just went for it. And he's like, when he got offered that new contract, he worked his arse off to get to a level where like he's now a top guy, like a true top guy. And I think that it almost doesn't matter who wins now because they've both done so well. But I think that, to your point, the first 2 matches, I liked the SummerSlam match. I know a lot of people didn't like it. I liked that one. The strap match was fine, but they need to have a classic match for the feud to be remembered as this like ultimate feud. And I think the Hell in a Cell is the perfect way to do it. I know PW Insider reported today that the Hell in a Cell match at this point is scheduled to open the show, which is crazy. I mean, I still
think match was main eventing. What?
I know, but then the thing is, I'm sure between now and Saturday, that's going to keep changing. It's gonna be either the tag match or the Hell in a Cell. I would like Hell in a Cell to main event, but if The Rock's coming back, I don't think he's coming back in the opener. So maybe that's your answer as to why that might be happening. But yeah, I think this has been great. I think that the WrestleMania stuff was so good. Like the story of Drew trying to rub it into Punk's face and then Punk costing him for the cash in. The Glasgow incident, the Glasgow screw job, I mean,
that was wild. Like being in the crowd for that was wild.
Yeah, like that was. It's been so great, and throughout the year they've had all these, Money in the Bank, everything. They've had all these moments where they've just escalated it and escalated it and escalated it. And how many times have we sat over the years and watched these like shitty Hell in a Cell programs, not matches because people work hard, but like the program. If a feud is just in Hell in a Cell because it's October, it's rubbish.
Like it didn't justify them being in a Hell in a Cell. Yeah, I remember that was a really big complaint where people were starting to feel like, oh, you're burning out the Hell in a Cell concept because that was only meant for feuds that really, really went so deep that the only way you could possibly ever end this feud is in a Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, and this is the first one of those in years where it's felt like that. I mean, there's been really good Hell in a Cell matches. We've seen, Sasha's been involved in great ones. We saw the Roman J Uso one in 2020 was really good, but this feels like the first one where I'm like, yeah, Hell in a Cell feels like that has to be the match for the last one. So yeah, I'm really into it. I hope that this is the start of them only using Hell in a Cell when it needs to happen, which would be good. But yeah, I think Punk's gonna win. I don't know what he does next. I don't know if he does move on to Gunther after that, but yeah, I think that this is the end of it. I'm curious what Drew does actually after this because, like where does he go? I almost wonder. Like, I mean, do they find a way to put him on SmackDown to kind of get him in front of fresh faces? But yeah, this is to me this feud is probably the best feud of the Triple H era that he's booked. I don't know what you think, but in
No,
terms of
it's either that one or it's the Cody Roman Rock one that we saw in Fold. Like those two storylines are really, really up there. And I mean, you can I don't know if you want to I think you can include the Rhea Liv storyline. I know it's not for some people, but I feel like they have been, doing pretty good with that. But this Drew McIntyre CM Punk one, I would say is tied with what we saw during Mania season with Cody, Rock, and Roman. Like that was really good stuff too. But this one, because it went longer, you might say that this could be the best book so far from the Triple H era.
And even like, to your point, a 10-month storyline where one of the participants was injured for 7 of the 10 months.
And they still found a way to keep it going and keep it interesting. That's the crazy part. Like, I almost forgot that. Thank you for mentioning that, because it is true. Like, Drew McIntyre was keeping CM Punk relevant. He really was. And then on top of that, it's bled into social media. And the Drew's posts on social media have been gold, man. There's even some where I'm like, he really went there? Holy shit, dude. Like when he called out the fan, the one that made the bracelet for CM Punk. And, that whole drama that happened with the shop and the bracelet being sold and all of that. Like, he literally quote retweeted her. And I thought, oh, no, he didn't. Like, that one completely shook me. And I mean, the other ones I found were really hilarious. But I mean, there's just been a lot that has happened with this story. So you definitely can put it up there as like one of the very best for sure. And I think this is exactly what CM Punk needed. He's coming into the company after, being gone for so many years, and to go into this feud with Drew McIntyre. And Drew McIntyre, perfect timing for him, because he re-signed not too long ago, his new contract and all of that. So good for him, man. He raised his value. So I feel like both guys kind of won with this particular feud. But wow, guys, there you have it. That was our Bad Blood prediction show with myself and Kenny McIntosh. Kenny, before we wrap this up, I want to thank you so much for hopping on and doing this, especially since I know it's so late for you over in the UK. But thank you so much for doing this podcast. And on top of that, like, tell the people where they can follow you and check out your work.
I'm still trying to go over the BlueChew commercial. It's still it's going to sit with me for days. But yeah, thank you. It's been really fun. Thank you to Oliver Drake, by the way, who follows ITR as well, and I appreciate him doing the super chat. But yeah, you can find we do loads of stuff. We've got a magazine, Inside the Ropes magazine.com, where I interviewed in recent interviews. I've interviewed Cody Rhodes, Will Ospreay, Swerve Strickland, loads of people. We've got a website, itrwrestling.com, where you can get all your news, and then we've got our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Inside the Ropes, where it's live show clips from me interviewing people across the UK. So we've got new clips going up all the time. And yeah, is there anything else? There's always loads of stuff and I forget stuff, but that's the main stuff. I don't think I've forgotten anything. I don't think.
The YouTube channel is the most important one. Promote that thing, Kenny.
yeah, that's the bread and butter. So
yeah,
if you see one of my videos, just click on it. Just like click on it and walk away. Just like leave it on.
Let it play.
Let it play on and on and on. And yeah, but it's been really fun to do something. Hopefully we can do something again. And then I'll hopefully see you at WrestleMania next year.
Hell yeah, man. Alrighty, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today. I hope you guys had a good time. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel. As always, just subscribe. Watch the videos. I put out interviews with the Hardy Boys, with Kalani Jordan. Check those ones out. Thank you guys so much. And Serena Deeb, that one's out there too. And I think I'm going to be dropping an interview either today or tomorrow. Haven't decided yet, so keep an eye out on that too. So I got a lot of stuff coming, and I will be in Atlanta for Bad Blood, so check out that content as well. Alrighty, everyone. Thank you guys so much, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye, everyone.